Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Soul Land 2 Peerless Tangmen based on novel. So let's start. Huo Yuhao personally asked Xian Ziwen to make this flying type soul tool for him. It carried all his longing for Donga. Quickly, everyone rose 1,000 meters into the air. At that height, they could barely see what was underneath them. To an ordinary person, they would resemble birds. Huo Yuhao flew at the front, He Kai-tu and Shusansha flanked him. Ji Juechen, Jing Ziyan, Yi Gai, and Nan Chochio followed them. Of those here, Ji Juechen was the most unfamiliar with flying-type soul tools. Other than his own sword, he normally did not come into contact with any other types of equipment. If not for the fact that he had a chance to fight, he might not even have come this time. As he controlled his flying-type soul tool, it was obvious that he was a rookie at it. His handsome face was ice-cold. A grade 7 flying-type soul tool would release a protective soul barrier for its user. This protective soul barrier underwent special treatment. Not only did it have the power of a grade 6 protective soul barrier, but it was aerodynamic, too, helping to reduce air resistance. Naturally, when a soul tool of this level was being used, it would deplete one's soul power greatly. Other than Ji Juechen, the rest of them were all soul emperors. While they could use one, they could not sustain it for long if they did not have sealed milk bottles. The technology behind sealed milk bottles had already been implemented in all the soul tools manufactured by the Tang sect. Every flying-type soul tool they were using now had 4 Class 6 sealed milk bottles. It was not because they did not want to use superior grade 7 ones, but it was prohibitively expensive to manufacture grade 7 sealed milk bottles. Due to the cost, Xian Ziwen chose to use 4 grade 6 sealed milk bottles for them instead. As she watched the scenery whiz past underneath her, Nan Chochio could not help but exclaim excitedly. Protected by the protective soul barrier, she did not need to deal with the wind resistance. Huo Yuhao led everyone in the direction of the Sun-Moon Empire. First, they had to fly south for a bit. To the south of Shrek Academy was the Great Star Do Forest, and after they passed it, they would enter the Star Luo Empire. He could not fly directly above the Great Star Do Forest, as that would be suicidal. As they approached the forest, Huo Yuhao started to change directions and flew southwest. He entered the Star Luo Empire, staying dozens of kilometers away from the Great Star Do Forest. After that, he veered south, planning to cut through the Star Luo Empire. The grade 7 flying-type soul tools were fast, indeed. After 2 hours, they were around 250 kilometers inside the Star Luo Empire, which was also its core regions. As they flew south, the temperature gradually rose. Shusansha could not help but ask Huo Yuhao, "Little junior brother, where are we going? Why do I feel that something is wrong?" Huo Yuhao said, "Nothing's wrong. We have to make a big detour this time, before we can enter the Sun-Moon Empire. It'll take longer, but it'll ensure success." "Okay," Shusansha said after he heard that reply. He Kai-tu trusted Huo Yuhao, so naturally, he would not inquire further. As for the remaining 4 of them, their sense of direction was bad, and they could only follow. They left in the morning. Huo Yuhao brought everyone down to rest at noon. Everyone ate, drank, and replenished the sealed milk bottles on their flying-type soul tools. The sealed milk bottles were indeed useful. They had been flying for hours, but their soul power had not been drained by much. Huo Yuhao took out a map and examined it. Occasionally, he would nod his head. Shusansha leaned against a huge tree. He took in the southern warmth as he closed his eyes to rest. He Kai-tu was nearby. He just watched Huo Yuhao. Like Huo Yuhao, he had undergone the ultimate soldier plan and knew about Huo Yuhao's experience in ambushing his enemies from behind. With Yuhao's sharp spiritual power and accurate judgment, coupled with his knowledge and experience, he definitely would not go in the wrong direction. They rested for 2 hours before resuming their journey. This time, Huo Yuhao made even more adjustments to their route. Quickly enough, even those who were unfamiliar with the way realized that everything they flew past seemed to be farms and wilderness. They did not pass any cities. Nan Chochio asked curiously, "Isn't the Star Luo Empire rich? Why have we not passed by any cities at all?" Yi Gai answered her silly question straight away, "He's doing it deliberately." She was correct. Huo Yuhao purposefully avoided any cities on their route. With the continual development of soul tools, the original 3 countries of the Doluo continent had placed greater emphasis on them, especially in the area of aerial surveillance. When Huo Yuhao and Wang Qiu'er had gone to the setting sun forest, they were detected by the aerial surveillance Soul tools placed in Heaven Do City, the capital of the Heavenly Soul Empire. That experience made him realize that he always had to avoid cities. After all, the range of aerial surveillance Soul tools was limited, and could not cover the entire country. As long as they did not pass by cities, they should be fine. Just like that, they flew for another 12 hours. As the sky darkened, they slowed down and prepared to descend. Just as they were doing that, Nan Qiuqiu suddenly exclaimed, "Look over there." "What's that?" Everyone looked into the distance. The scene there touched them deeply. It was a golden world. One could see countless rays of golden light on the horizon. The sun was slowly setting amid this golden scene. Huo Yuhao smiled. He had achieved his initial objective. That's the sea. What's there to be shocked about? When the sun sets over the mountains, sunlight will shine over the sea and create this image. Yi Gai looked into the distance. She appeared to be in a trance. The sun sets over the sea, what a beautiful sight. That was right, they were at the sea. To be accurate, they were near the southern shoreline of the Star Luo Empire. With 12 hours of flight at full speed, they had left Shrek City, cut across the entire length of the Star Luo Empire, and finally arrived at the southern shoreline of the Star Luo Empire. Under Huo Yuhao's leadership, they had to take numerous detours away from cities, but they were able to reach the sea before sunset. Why is the sea there? Yuhao, tell me where we are. Jing Xian asked in shock. Huo Yuhao said, this is the southern shoreline of the Star Luo Empire. After an entire day's flight, we've made our way across the Star Luo Empire. Tomorrow, we'll head out to sea. We'll fly westward along the coast, and enter the Sun Moon Empire via the sea. Jing Xian's map reading skills might be bad, but she knew her geography. She asked in shock, that's such a long way around. Why are you doing this? Huo Yuhao said, so we can enter the Sun Moon Empire safely. We have no choice. I'm afraid the border of the Sun Moon Empire is completely covered by surveillance Soul tools. It would be impossible to enter without being discovered. Elder Xian decided that the rescue mission would have two teams, with one being the decoy. The powerful Soul Masters from the Academy are the decoy, and they'll go by the more obvious route. We'll go by the lesser-known route. Elder Xian's team will attract the attention of the Sun Moon Empire. Our goal is to rescue our targets. Jing Xian inhaled and said, how many people were caught? 400. 500. With just a few of us, can we really save all of them? Huo Yuhao chuckled and said, you may think it's impossible, and the enemy thinks so, too. As long as they can see Elder Xian and the higher echelons of Shrek Academy, they'll naturally let their guard down. Furthermore, you've forgotten something. The people we're out to save are no ordinary people. Each and every one of them is immensely powerful. Jing Xian finally understood the target and plan of this rescue operation. Huo Yuhao said loudly, everyone, perk up. We'll rest by the seaside. At night, I'll catch and grill fish for everyone. After they worked hard for the entire day, eating was more important to them than anything else. When they heard these words, their speed increased visibly. They all flew toward the sea, the waters dazzling in the setting sun, like swallows toward a tree. While it looked near, it was actually still pretty far. They had to fly for another hour before they reached the coast. When they landed, the sky was completely dark. Gai, come and catch fish with me, Huo Yuhao said as he gestured toward her. Why me? Yi Gai asked curiously. You can make some light for me. Fishies love bright spots. You're using my holy angel as a source of light. Yi Gai was visibly irritated. Huo Yuhao looked at her and said, well, if you don't want to eat later, then I won't do so. Yi Gai glared at him angrily, then remembered that Shusansha had once said that Huo Yuhao's grilled fish was extremely tasty. Eventually, she relented. She pursed her lips and unwillingly released her angelic wings, flying out above the sea. Huo Yuhao smiled. Moving on the tips of his feet, he jumped straight out into the middle of the sea. Yi Gai looked down from the sky to look at Huo Yuhao. To her surprise, Huo Yuhao was not using his flying-type soul tool. Instead, he walked on the water as he headed out into the sea. While a flying-type soul tool could accelerate quickly, it was harder to control than martial souls at low speed. Yi Gai wanted to him slip up, but Huo Yuhao was walking casually as if he were at home on the waves. How does he do it? Does he really have 5 soul rings? Yi Gai was shocked as she thought about it. Quickly, she discovered how Huo Yuhao was able to stand on the water. With each step he took, parts of the sea would freeze into ice, which could hold his weight. This prevented him from sinking straight away, so he could stand on top of the sea as if it were nothing to him. This guy is abnormal. Yi Gai sighed and hurried over. The sea water was clear blue, and one could see the bottom. Even though the sun had set, the light from Yi Gai's holy angel allowed her to see the beautiful and enthralling underwater world. Huo Yuhao did not walk too far out into the sea. There were 10 times more soul beasts in the ocean than on land. Other than a few aquatic soul masters who lived near the sea, very few people dared to venture out into the sea without knowing the behavior and patterns of the soul beasts who lived there. Gai, shine brighter, Huo Yuhao said as he gestured toward Yi Gai, who was above his head. Yi Gai turned her head to the side as if she had not heard him. Stop fooling around, aren't you hungry? Huo Yuhao spoke as if he were coaxing a younger sister, though Yi Gai was older than him by 5 to 6 years. HMPH. Yi Gai said. Had 2 wings then lit up. Warm golden light cascaded from the sky. Night may have just fallen over this boundless sea, but the light from her wings over the water was a beautiful sight to behold. Just like Huo Yuhao had said, fishes loved light. After a short time, he could see schools of fish swimming in the water underneath him. How do you plan to catch them? We have many people, and we'll eat a lot, Yi Gai asked Huo Yuhao curiously. While she was powerful, her survival skills were mediocre at best. Ever since she was young, she had devoted all her energy to training. She had probably never done any chores in her life. Hence, while she liked to eat nice food, she was more curious about how this youth who had beaten her up would cook the fish. Watch and see, Huo Yuhao replied with a smile. A clear blue light shone from his body. The moment it appeared, the water underneath him froze. Yi Gai noticed that Huo Yuhao was now standing on solid ice. An area with a radius of 2.5 meters around him had frozen over. The motion of the waves quickly lifted the block of ice up. Huo Yuhao seemed to be standing on an iceberg. In the middle of the iceberg, many of the fish still looked as if they were swimming. At least 100 of them were frozen inside. Isn't this too simple and brutish? Yi Gai asked dazedly. Huo Yuhao smiled at her and said, sometimes, simplicity is beautiful. Let's go. As he said that, he waved his hands behind him, and 2 gusts of wind blew out. The ice underneath his feet started to slide across the waves toward solid land. This is possible. How interesting. Yi Gai had always been curious about Huo Yuhao. After she saw him fish with this method, she could not help but be even more intrigued. Only Yi Gai and Nan Qiuqiu had never done any form of chores in their lives before. By the time Huo Yuhao reached the shore, He Kai-tu and Shu Sansha had already started a fire with some wood they found. A pot of water was boiling. Ji Juechen was silent, but he was not someone who would not help. Earlier, he had helped cut the firewood. Jing Ziyan had built the bonfire and placed the pot over it. At this moment, Nan Qiuqiu stood nearby, blushing because she had not done anything at all. At first, she had wanted to help Jing Ziyan, but the moment she tried to help, she knocked over the pot. Instantly, Shu Sansha asked her to move to the side. If not, there would be no soup that night. Huo Yuhao walked over and chuckled, our preparations are almost done. I shall start. Second senior brother, cook up some vegetable soup. We can't just eat grilled fish. I'll put 2 fish in the vegetable soup so it'll taste better. Food was naturally one of the components taught in the ultimate Solida plan. While Huo Yuhao did not dare to say that he recognized all edible fish, he was able to recognize over 60% of them. He picked up a few branches to skewer the fish, then went back to the ocean. With ultimate ice, he could not only freeze water into ice, but he could also allow ice to melt back into water. As every fresh fish passed his hands, he was able to wash all of them quickly. He skewered them on branches and then placed them on top of some leaves Yi Kai-tu had found. Huo Yuhao's movements were deft. Yi Gai watched him with delight and wanted to help him. However, the moment she tried to do so, she realized that this simple task was not as simple as it seemed. She spent a long time skewering a single fish, piercing through its belly and making a huge mess of its scales. She even got fish blood on her hands. The end result was that the poor fish was burned to a crisp in a fit of rage by her holy flames. While she was unwilling to concede defeat, Yi did not try to help after she washed her hands. She believed it to be a form of mercy for the fish, as they could enter her stomach whole. She sat on the beach and watched Huo Yuhao's nimble but unrushed movements. Her mind started to drift. She looked at the guy, who was not really that handsome, and at most had a nice body. She had seen many guys who were more handsome than him. However, under the glow of moonlight, he appeared to have a special charisma as he processed the fish. Guys look the best when they're working. This thought swirled in her mind. Stop looking, I already have a master. Huo Yuhao looked up and flashed a smile at her, interrupting her reverie. Yi felt her heart go cold. Huo Yuhao's tone was mirthful as he poked fun at her like a friend. However, he also seemed to be reminding her of something. This made Yi uncomfortable, and she shot back shrilly. So what if I stare at you? Looking at you, do you think I'll fall for you? HMPH. As she said that, she stood up, turned around, and headed back toward the bonfire. Huo Yuhao shook his head helplessly as he thought, please don't fall for me. However, did you realize that you've been sitting next to me for the past half hour? As he thought about that, he wrapped the 100 fish in banana leaves before heading back toward the bonfire. On the other side, Nan Xiuqiu was already poking fun at Yi quietly. The two girls sat there mumbling to themselves. Under the glow of the bonfire, Yi seemed to be blushing. When Huo Yuhao returned, he immediately started to grill the fish. He had already prepared the condiments and seasoning. Through his skills, he demonstrated his culinary abilities to those who had never eaten his grilled fish before. It was faster to eat than to grill. Only after he grilled his 60th fish did Huo Yuhao get to have his first bite. The fish soup was fresh. The grilled fish was crispy on the outside and tender on the inside. Moonlight shone down on the sea from the sky. The group of young men and women sat by the bonfire. It was a scene worth remembering. The tasty dinner washed away the fatigue from the day. After dinner, they sat around the bonfire to meditate without even building tents, rotating the guard every 2 hours. After a silent night, Huo Yuhao and the rest set off once more. Like he said yesterday, he led everyone to fly out over the sea. After they flew 5 kilometers out over the sea, the shoreline finally became blurry. Only then did Huo Yuhao change directions and start to head west. They flew much faster above the sea, as they did not need to take detours. However, Huo Yuhao did not dare to lead everyone too far out into the sea, because there were many aquatic soul beasts out there. The most powerful ones were legendary and could rival, or even surpass, the kings of soul beasts in the Great Star Doe Forest. After 4 hours, they finally crossed the border of the Sun Moon Empire. Huo Yuhao had no choice but to bring everyone further out to sea. Both the Star Luo Empire and the Sun Moon Empire were not adept at naval warfare, but this did not mean that they had no naval defenses. They were both afraid of a naval invasion, and so they each stationed navies at their common border. However, their navies were not large, and there were only a few soul tools on their ships. Comparing the two, the Sun Moon Empire's navy was stronger. It was not that they did not want to develop their navies, but on the Doluo continent, the presence of aquatic soul beasts hindered the development of navies. Once a navy became too large, aquatic soul beasts would attack. There was no chance of them ever entering the deep sea. This was also why, before the Sun Moon continent and the Doluo continent slammed together, the 3 countries of the Doluo continent did not even know of the existence of the Sun Moon continent. In this world, because of the presence of aquatic soul beasts, ocean exploration was impossible. They skirted past the 2 opposing navies. As they flew out over the deep sea, some seagull-type oceanic soul beasts attacked Huo Yuhao and his team. However, they were not powerful enough to threaten the group and were easily dealt with. After they skirted around the 2 navies and entered the territory of the Sun Moon Empire, Huo Yuhao directed his team to fly closer to the shoreline before flying ahead. They did not rest. When the soul power of their flying-type soul tools was depleted to a certain extent, they would immediately replenish them with filled sealed milk bottles. After they flew for another 4 hours, they soon approached Huo Yuhao's second designated location. This was a city near the southern coast of the Sun Moon Empire called Sejoy City. Sejoy City was located near the southern sea of the Sun Moon Empire, and could be considered a big city. It was built on the Sun Moon Empire's greatest natural port, Sun Moon Harbor. While ships could not enter the deep sea, progress in Seoul engineering technology ensured that ships sailing near the coast would be safe. After all, transport by sea was easier than transport by land, as it required less manpower and logistics. It would, however, require a greater upfront investment. Everyone could see Sun Moon Harbor in the distance. However, Huo Yuhao did not fly there straight away with his companions. Instead, they landed near the coast around 5 kilometers away from Sun Moon Harbor and Sejoy City. There, everyone changed into the style of clothing worn by the people of the Sun Moon Empire. Only then did they head toward Sejoy City on foot. Sejoy City could not compare with Radiant City or Shrek City. Relative to the cities of the continent, it was considered medium-sized. Perhaps because of its rather inaccessible location, Sejoy City's security was much less strict. Huo Yuhao and the rest were able to enter it easily. Sejoy City's buildings were different from those in the inland cities of the Sun Moon Empire. The city did not have the tall buildings of Radiant City, but more of the characteristics of a fishing village by the sea. They all looked extremely sturdy, as they were probably designed to withstand sea storms. The buildings of Sejoy City were all located on higher ground, while Sun Moon Harbor was located on a downward slope. They first found a medium-sized hotel to settle down in. After flying for almost half a day, they needed time to rest. "Chio, come and walk with me," Huo Yuhao gestured to Nan Chio. Nan Chio looked at Yi Gai next to her, and said, "Ask Sister Gai instead." "Why me?" Huo Yuhao's face darkened as he said, "What did I say before we came out? You have to obey all orders. If you don't want to listen to my instructions, you can go back by yourself." Nan Chio stuck out her tongue and said crossly, "There's no need to be so fierce. I'll go with you." As she said that, she shot an odd look at Yi Gai. Yi Gai blushed, and her hips moved slightly. Then, Nan Chio ran out with a smile. Huo Yuhao said, "Take this time to rest, guys. In the meantime, you can replenish the soul power in our sealed milk bottles. We'll come back soon." Shu Sancha said, "Go, we'll be fine here." Huo Yuhao did not dare to delay. He was afraid of this young mistress. Heaven knew what kind of trouble she would cause. He followed her outside and saw that she was not far away. Only then did he relax. He rushed over and said, "Come, hold my arm." Nan Chio was startled. She jumped to one side as she stared at him warily and said, "What are you doing? Don't even think about taking advantage of me. Back in the hotel, there's someone who's dying for you to do that to her. What's wrong? Have you fallen for me?" Huo Yuhao slapped his forehead and said helplessly, "Can you stop being so perverted? Do you want to save your mother or not?" Nan Chio said angrily, "Saving my mother doesn't mean I have to sacrifice my virtue. Stop using this to threaten me." The muscles on Huo Yuhao's face twitched as he said, "Okay, fine. Go back and get Yi Gai to come. Tell her that we need to pretend to be a couple." Pretend to be a couple? For what? Nan Chio's wariness was replaced by curiosity. Huo Yuhao said angrily, "This is our disguise. We pretend to be a couple to gather information. If not, why would I want you to hold my arm?" "You should have made yourself clearer," Nan Chio replied with a snort. Only then did she shuffle over unwillingly, and she held his arm. However, she grabbed the inner portion of his shirt with two of her fingers. Huo Yuhao sighed and said, "Sometimes I feel that it was a mistake for elder brother to let you tag along. Let's go." As he said that, he strode forward with big steps. Nan Chio's mouth twitched as she said, "I'm a proper girl. What if I become pregnant pretending to be your girlfriend?" Huo Yuhao almost stumbled and fell. His arm trembled as he pushed Nan Chio's hand to one side as he said, "Fine, you win, mistress. Let's pretend to be brother and sister, all right? You won't have to suffer so much like this. I'm truly in awe at how you think holding hands can lead to pregnancy." With that, he ignored her as he continued to walk forward. "Oi! Why are you so fierce? This time, you're in the wrong. There's no way for you to pretend to be my older brother. I should be your elder sister instead. I'm older than you. Oi, stop walking so fast, wait for me." Huo Yuhao was afraid that he might really blow his top because of Nan Chio, and hence he walked ahead quickly. In his heart, he felt frustrated and helpless, but a smile crept across his face. This seemingly dumb and proud girl was indeed interesting. Ever since Dorna fell into a deep slumber, he was finally able to relax a bit, even though it was because he was dealing with such petty issues. As he walked down the street, Huo Yuhao bought some interesting local delicacies, such as dried fish, scallops, and some dried meat. He also bought a map of Sejoy City and its Sun Moon Harbor. Nan Xiuqiu ultimately decided to be his girlfriend. While she did not like it, she held his hand. "Why are you buying all this? They don't look very tasty. Speaking of food, your grilled fish yesterday was excellent. Make more next time, it's praiseworthy." Huo Yuhao said in a low voice, "I don't need your praise. From now on, try not to talk. Just smile." "Why can't I talk? I want to talk." "Save your mother. Save your mother." After making 2 rounds through the city following the instructions on the map, he finally stopped in front of building with a pointy top. He did not enter it immediately, but instead turned to look at Nan Xiuqiu and said, "After we enter, say nothing, is that clear? Listen to my instructions. If not, you can go back." "All right, I'll keep quiet," Nan Xiuqiu agreed unwillingly. Huo Yuhao sighed in relief, but just as he was about to enter, Nan Xiuqiu said, "Have you realized that Sister Gai seems to like you?" Huo Yuhao missed a step, and he turned back and glared at her, saying angrily, "Shut your mouth, is that clear?" "All right." Nan Xiuqiu shut her mouth unwillingly, but she continued to mumble, "I don't know what Sister Gai sees in you. So fierce, hmph." Huo Yuhao did not bring He Gai out, because he sensed that she was looking at him oddly. Last night, it was clear from the way she watched him prepare the fish. Maybe she did not like him, but she was definitely curious about him. Huo Yuhao was quite sensitive to this. Chioa and Donga were already fighting for him. He could not blame Chioa for it, but he definitely did not want anyone else to fall for him. However, he regretted it now. Bringing Nan Xiuqiu out was torture. Had he known that, he would have brought He Gai out. At least she was more normal. There was a sign on the pointed building, which bore the words Sun Moon Harbor Shipping Company. After he entered the door, he was greeted with a bustling sight. The main hall was wide, at least 400 square meters in area. There were 10 counters, all of which were manned by busy staff. It was not particularly clean, and one could smell the reek of salt rot. Nan Xiuqiu could not help but frown. Huo Yuhao pinched her, stopping her from complaining about the place. Huo Yuhao looked around at his surroundings before walking to a counter. The counter was empty, except for a middle-aged woman sitting on the other side. "Hello, may I ask what the prices are for renting a boat?" After staying in the Sun Moon Empire for 2 years, he was able to imitate the local accent almost perfectly. Furthermore, he deliberately lowered the sound of his voice, making it hard to hear him clearly in this bustling place. "Renting a boat? Little boy, why do you want to rent a boat? Don't you know the ocean is unsafe?" The middle-aged woman looked at Huo Yuhao and waved him away impatiently. Nan Xiuqiu, who was next to Huo Yuhao, almost laughed. "Little boy, what a nice moniker." Huo Yuhao said calmly, "Sister, it's not right to say that. While I'm young, this doesn't mean I can't do business. I want to rent a cargo ship that can transport around 5,000 kilos of goods." "You want to ship something? Where?" The middle-aged woman finally perked up. Huo Yuhao said, "To Pegasus Harbor in the east." "How much will it cost?" Pegasus Harbor was located near the eastern seaboard of the Sun Moon Empire. It was near the Star Luo Empire's naval base, which faced the Sun Moon Empire's fleet. It was the easternmost port of the Sun Moon Empire, and was just a bit smaller than Sun Moon Harbor. The middle-aged woman said, "A cargo ship that can carry 5,000 kilos of goods to Pegasus Harbor. It'll cost at least 1,200 golden soul coins." "Little fellow, it isn't cheap." Huo Yuhao said, "Money is no issue, but I want to know if it's safe. Also, what kind of cargo ship can you provide?" This video will end here.